Wow. I'm taking my clothes off. Jesus. Hey, everybody. My name is Katti. I was going to tell everybody who I am, and now you just blew it, Johanna. No, I'm just kidding. The thing is, I'm going to be a bit flummy, as we say in Swedish, loose around the edges, or maybe scrumpy around the edges also, because I'm now 50 plus. So there you go. I'm confused after this morning, you know, being an ape. You're the flock, you're there, I'm up here. I feel I want to belong. I hope I can overwhelm this bridge, this gap between us during my talk. We'll see if that is possible. And also, Johanna, you said that I should behave like a grown-up. That's going to be really, really hard for me. Because, well, I have had trouble with that all my life, actually. And I'm going to more dwell upon what childhood is and how connected we are to our inner child. I'm going to give you an example of how you can create a space together with those who are supposed to use it. In this case, namely children, as we call them now. I like to call them human beings. 10 to 13 years old. And this might look very flashy. I don't know how to get... No. Oh, look. Oh, that's not so flashy. And that's not either so flashy. Let's see if I... Yeah, it looks a bit, you know, expensive and so on. This is the library I'm going to talk about soon. But you can do this with very little money also. It's a question of how you work. But I was asking also Rebecca, I hate PowerPoint. I'm thinking it's a fly that's going to pass. I've never gotten into it myself, and I hope to stay away from it. So I have no PowerPoint. I was hoping for a flanellograph. And yeah, it's an old thing from the 70s, the flanellograph. And it's actually a lot of research saying that if you move and you put things up like this, then you remember much more and you learn much more. So the flanellograph was a really good innovation. And it's coming back. Rebecca said it's now in production, actually, again. You don't believe me? It's true. But before I came up on this stage, quite a lot has happened. I think you said most of the things, Johanna, but not everybody knows that I'm also an educated farmer, which is an important skill to have as a leader, actually. Because animals and children also, but animals, if you're going to work with like 50 cows, they scan you like this. Is she for real? Is she scared? Is she authentic? So it's really good to practice with animals, actually. Just a tip. I had this enormous pressure from Stefan, with the mustaches. Where are you? Stellan has left the building. Because during lunchtime, he told me that he had these enormous expectations of performance. When someone comes on stage after having studied theater, he thought, this speaker could be better. And I didn't tell him at first that I was going to hold a lecture here. But luckily, he's left the room. So, but I have actually gone to theater school, so I have practiced. But I said to Alexander Bardny when we were talking a bit before that I'm from the beginning a musician, and that kind of sticks. So my identity is still within music. Okay. So today I'm going to share an example of how can you work with participation with a certain target group. Now I've learned we have so much better ideas, and I'm moving in that direction as well. Instead of saying 10 to 13-year-olds, we should say people who need to unwind, or people who need to get energized, or people who want to feel secure. And then we would fix our spaces with other objectives than how old are you, how big are you, how, you know, middle-aged women, for example, with kids. I'm in that target group. Anyway, but first, why am I obsessed with libraries and librarians? And we've heard today that the story, the narrative is very, very important. So I'm going to tell you a story. Why am I not a junkie or dead? because I should have been that. The thing is, it happened. Some things happened to me when I was 10 years old, or actually 9. The thing that happened was that my mother, who before had been very controlled and everything, she just left the family, took off with a much younger guy, a hippie, with round glasses and a little flute and this Afghan pels, I don't know what you call that in English, long hair, and just liberation, women's lib, she dyed her hair red and she left the family. And I was sitting in the kitchen together with my 2 older siblings and my daddy, and he was like staring at a glass of whiskey, like this. Okay. At that point, I thought, okay, you can't trust adults. They can go berserk. Nothing is stable or, predictable. At any time in your life, anything can happen. And I felt this kind of big, black, evolving animal growing inside me, or like a big existential abyss. I didn't put these words on my feelings, but that was exactly how I felt. I went to the library at Hornsgatan, which was a safe place, and I knew the librarians there, so I went there, and 9.5 maybe, and said, I want to listen to some very, very sad music. And they said, no, we don't have music here. We only have music in the library and the culture house, Kulturhuset, in the Stockholm city center. And I had, like we say, frigång, or, I was totally free from 6 years old. I had the key around my neck and so on. So I took the subway. I went down to this big, big institution. I went over the square, actually one of the first times I did that. And then I stood there in the entrance, and it was a very long way to the counter over there, to the librarian over there. And I had this big, dark, strange animal growing inside me, so I was very, very motivated to go. Finally, I did. I approached the counter that was this high. I remember trying to look larger than I was. And I said, I want to listen to the saddest music you have in this building. And she didn't, pay much attention to me. She had like pencils stuck into her hair and looked very strange, this librarian. She was okay. She put me in a chair. She put on these really, really big earphones, and into my ears, very loud, came Albinoni's Adagio. You know that song? Everybody? Okay, let's sing it. La, 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 la. Where's my choir? La, 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 la. Yeah, and then comes. Da, 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 right? And I just, thank you. Don't call me, I'll call you. No, you were great, sorry. And I sat there for hours. She put it on repeat, actually. So it went on for maybe three hours. And the tears were just coming down. The next day after school, I went straight to the library again. And she like, oh, it's you again, sir. And I kept coming to this, and the librarian was just, she never said, hi, so good to see you again. Is Katti the name? She never approach me like that. She was very sensuous about, okay, she's the dark girl. I'm just gonna keep a distance. And then she started putting on more advanced music, like Mahler and Tchaikovsky and Shostakovich. I didn't know that at the time, but I just got all my emotions out through this healing process. Then one day she just passed me and said, well, you could also read a book. And I was sitting here, and the book was Jättehemligt by Barbro Lindgren, which is a story about the book, very secretive, you could say, a diary, a girl, 10 years old, who was just like me. Very strange humor, distant way of looking at the adult world. Barbro Lindgren is now my spiritual guru and guide. We've become friends, actually. That book saved my life. The librarian saved my life, and she was also so skilled that she one day came and said, well, you can also write yourself. With a book with blank pages, right? So I started expressing myself in words. Now that's what librarians can do. Bemötande, how do you say that, Johanna? You're the interaction, how you interact with a person in a library, for example, or any other public space, is free. It's an asset that's free. You can always work with the way you interact with the ones that you want to create some value within. So therefore, you don't need money. You only need human beings, actually. So now I want you, what I want to say is, at that point in time, I was 10, I became me. I'm still actually exactly the same on the inside. Not many people believe this, but it's true. And now I would like, since this is interactive, and I had very, not Stalinistic, but very hard demands on me to get going some interaction. So I want you all to close your eyes. And I will check this. Close. Alexander, good. Now you think of yourselves. When did you become you? Were you a teenager? Was it earlier? Did something special happen in your life at that time, or did you just feel, oh, this is me? Did you have any interaction with art of any kind that affected you? Or was it a person? Don't forget to breathe. And how connected are you to this child today? Are you in contact? Now you can open your eyes. And if you want to share something with the whole flock, herd competence, we heard of herd competence today. We're monkeys, don't forget. If you want to share with everybody, raise a hand. No. You, Stellan, my man. Or was it Stefan? This is why I don't play tennis. I want to play tennis, but...
Hello? Yeah.
Hey.
The moment I got out of secondary school, or in Sweden, 9th grade,
Yeah.
And I realized that I've been playing by the book. I've been trying to follow all the norms, all the regulations for how you should be for 9 years. I never succeeded, and I always felt miserable. And when I got out of there, I thought, well, this didn't work out. Let's do something else. I think that's the most special thingy.
Are you still connected to that guy? 16 years old or something like that?
The guy I became, or the guy I was?
The guy you became, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
The true you.
Yeah.
Excellent.
I'd say.
I'm happy. Because I believe someone here was talking about stress earlier. I believe one of the most stressful things for us, and 90% of all diseases are stress-related and so on, one of the most important things is that we are not living the lives we should live. We're not connected with the inner self. And we don't want to take the consequences of connecting, because that's like really scary. So do this exercise now and then, and remind yourselves of who you truly are. I'm becoming very, very philosophic now. I was going to talk about the library, god damn it. So, all right. Alibis for action, that's what we also are addressing today. And I want to say that this library the power was given totally to the ones who were going to use it, the kids. Except for one thing. I had like a little hidden agenda. So I actually put a large kitchen in the middle of the library, and no kid had asked for a large kitchen. But I had this intuitive, now you have research addressing these things, but I had this intuitive feeling that if it smells good, if you can go into creating something very complicated, cooking is really an art form. then you forget yourselves. You forget that you're too fat, your teeth are strange, or, you know, I'm being bullied at school. You can just go into that and start connecting with yourself and your senses. And I also thought, why aren't there more kitchen in libraries? Because that's really good. And you can play with strange things like knives and fire and, you know, dangerous things that kids never get to work with nowadays. They are so curled up in all kinds of fluff and cotton and things. So the kitchen, no kid asked for, but a lot of other things they asked for. And if you want to work with participation truly, then you need to get some expertise in. Because I've been interviewing kids in public service, TV and radio for almost 20 years. And I know that they're going to answer the old lady, like me in this case, what the lady wants to hear. Regardless of how sensitive I try to be and so on, it's really tricky to interview and talk to children because they are so loyal. They want to give the right answer. So there's no malice, it's just a fantastic loyalty they have. So I got a researcher in, and that's the first free tip today. I mean, the universities are crawling with fantastic people who need something tangible to do research on. So get one of those in and see if that's not a good way to get real answers from the children. So we did a big survey. There was also money from the Kulturrådet, the Arts Council in Sweden, actually 250,000 Swedish crowns, which was good. So we could do a real survey. And the interesting thing, of course, that you know, but we need to get reminded of, is that being a child, this was a very limited group. At first I thought 9 to 14 was a good, like, you want to have more kids in. But the kids were very straight about, you have to be over 9. Because when you're 9, you're very small and childish and, you know, really stupid. But when you become 10, something happens. So there should be, you know, an age limit, 10 to 13. Because when you become 14, then you become like more, you know, big and sex and hormones and all. Sex is also going on in the 10 to 13-year-olds' minds. That's not what I mean. But they were really no small kids, no big teenagers. Striking also was that you have very different dreams depending on into which family you are born, of course. So one kid from Södermalm, which is the hipster part of Stockholm, could say, I would just like a space where I could be alone and maybe lie down and just rest. Because they were already stressed out. I go to tennis, I play piano, I have the extra study group, and then I also play badminton or something. So they were like, can I please just get a zone that is free of demands and free of activity? On the other end of the scale, we had a girl like, I dream about going to the badhus. How do you say badhus? Bathhouse, where you can swim and, you know, together with my daddy, but we can't afford that. So everything in between. They wanted the space to be very topographic so that you could be in different levels. Very important to the kids. And I think it's also like a universal human need, being monkeys, that it's nice to be able to climb up somewhere and have the overview. It's also nice to have soft and hard surfaces and to be able to just be safe and see what everybody else is doing before I enter the flock. So that was a very important thing for them. And if we look at the rooms that you presented, wherever you are, Eva? Oh, somewhere? You know, the traditional meeting rooms or the classrooms, this is like the opposite. We don't like those rooms. We don't feel good in them. So what kind of people should work in this space then? And that was the most important thing to the kids, the people in the room. So they said it's very important that you can talk about death, sex, bullying, not entering the flock, being extremely good with literature, reading, and knowing all about art, visual art, music, film, pretty big, yeah. So, but the one thing that was most important was that this should be a person you could hang out with. I mean, that's number one. You've got to be able to hang out with this person. And I said, well, okay, but what do you mean? What do you mean? Well, you know, you just know if you can hang with the person or not. So I called the HR department and said, I want to have some kids in my recruiting group. Only they can decide if this is a person you can hang out with. And the HR manager said, forget it. Terrible to have kids in a recruiting group. But it's their place, it's their staff. I mean, they should be able to be involved in big decision that affects them. Look at the Convention of the Rights of the Child. It's stipulated there. I really tried. And she said, no, Katti, sometimes a no is a no. So I couldn't do that, unfortunately. But I tried to really have, big ears and big eyes when these wonderful people came and applied for the job. Further on, although these people were recruited to work in a participating way, a process-related way, a really hard word to say, they still had problems giving away power. Because we're grown-ups, right, Johanna? More or less. We know so many things, and we want to show the kids how much we know. And we want to help them through life and be pedagogues and so on. But this was a spot where they were supposed to be free and have the power. And so the people working there should also trust the kids to be able to express what they wanted, and we could facilitate it. And so if you're going to work with participation, you're going to find some resistance, although you have a group that's newly recruited to do just this. Then if you think about, some of you work in libraries here, some librarians, yeah? Then if you think about that, you have a group of staff who are used to working in another way, then you have a huge resistance, because it's really scary. What if I do something wrong? That's not the librarian's best, field, to go out and do mistakes. But it should be, because it's a really good learning circle. So, also, a good tip or a good thing to think about is to think more about the values or the emotions that you want to create within the visitor, more than anything. What should they experience here? What are they going to feel when they have been in this space? And that helps you really much in choosing things away. And we landed in 2 objectives in this library, 10 to 13. I was seen, very important. How do you see a person in the right way? If you remember my old librarian, she didn't even say hi to me, and that was perfect for me, because I really wanted to be alone and safe at the same time. And then the other ones who maybe want a hug or something, So I was seen, that's where I am, should the child feel, and then I have to come back to this space. So that's like really good objectives to think about. What should they feel inside of them? And also, with all this money, I had the opportunity to travel a bit, and I didn't find any space where kids had the power, actually. Unfortunately, I was in England. Oh, well, they spanked the children there, of course, but still. In France, in the States, all kinds of places. But I got 3 very, very inspiring and important learning points. The first one was a place called Imagine On in Charlotte, like a library theater built together. They had like 3 rules. In this space, we have respect yourself, respect others, respect the space. I snatched that one, and if you say it in Swedish, then it becomes respektera dig själv, respektera andra, respektera rymden. Respect outer space. So, always important to have a sense of humor. The other thing was like in Denmark, in a library, I went around in the library, it was a Kulturhus library, and I couldn't find any space for, in-betweenies or teenagers. So I said, where's the place for the young kids? Oh, it's down in the basement. Det skulle ner i källaren. So de hade put it, yeah, the teenagers with all the sweat and everything in the basement. No daylight, no nothing. And it was like, all these ventilation things going on, and a really rough place, really low in the hierarchy. But there, a bald, pierced young woman full of tattoos stood and said, "Hi, jag är Lone." And I could just feel, I want to be with this girl. God, she's good. So the interaction with the human being really hit me in that space. And the third one that I want to inspire you with, because time is running out, maybe soon, is that I went to one of these ID stores. You know about the ID stores. They are what they are. Some are good, some are maybe strange. But I went to one in the outskirts of London in Whitechapel. And there was a little Pakistani head of the place. He was very humble. He was walking around like this and talking very, in a low voice. And people were playing football over there in the library. And he was like, yes, they like to play with the ball. We think it's okay. Somebody was sleeping here. Who's that? Oh, he comes. I don't think he really has a place to stay. But, it's not hurting anybody. And the people were drinking coffee, around the computers and everything. He said, yeah, he's just, a keyboard. He's not that expensive. And at the end of the day, I asked this guy, what's your, ambition level? What do you see that you want to achieve within these visitors? Well, if people reach their life goals, then I think maybe I did an okay job with my staff. So set your ambitions really, really high. I always do that. I will become Minister for Culture. No, I don't want to become that. It seems like a terrible job. But, set your ambitions really high, then you reach there. If you set them here, you maybe reach there. So it's really inspiring to have a big ambition, high ambition level. And also with the life quality of your own lives and your inner children or teens or whatever they are. So, if you only take with you one thing, that was also a demand from Rebecca, she's really demanding. Art and librarians can save lives. Thank you very much.
Yes, now I can ask you a question. If you were to design something like this for people who aren't actually 11 to 13 years old, is anything different?
Nothing is different. And that's one thing I didn't have time to say.
So say it now.
The kids said there should be a limit for the adults. No adults. No parents, no pedagogues, no... So there's a limit that says adult limit.
So like skolgräns?
Yeah, there's also...
similar to that, I just...
It's also actually a limit for the shoes, because that was my alibi for interaction, that I know that you become more softish and less stressed if you take off your shoes. So it's shoes and adults, stop. And then you have these parents that come with their kid, and you have the kid taking off the shoes and going in. And then you have the adults following the child. Wait, no. And we call them giraffe adults because they get really... And then the staff, of course, talks to all the parents. We always have a place where you say, hi, I work here, talk to me about anything. So we have this ritual also when you enter the space so that you can talk to one of the staff. And the parents say, we want a library like this. Why can't we have one like this? Why are libraries not built like this for us?
So let's see. I think you're running 44 libraries. How are you coming along on this process for
Moving
us?
fast. No.
I'm like, really? No.
Well, if you've started, it's like you say, if you've seen the light, you had this participation culture, bang, this is how to work, then you can't stop. So, of course, we have to work in this way, and I have to change all of this, but it takes a long time. The budget is very limited, and we have a very, very big, fast-growing city, and also now with all the refugees and everything. So we have to take like the hygiene factors first, security, you know, sjukskrivningar, how do you say that? Sick
leave.
Sick leave. The resources, the people in the library, they need to feel good. They need to feel safe, creative, and brave. So I try to inspire to that through the way I am leading the thing. And also, there's a lot of things that I have to do.
I have one last question before I let you go, and then we'll have cake. But it's that in any kind of change process, you have a problem, which is that whatever the old system was, there will be power users who are loving the current system. So, for instance, if you work with museums, the people who are currently loving your museum are quite probably influential at your museum because they're the ones who actually go there, they fund your stuff, they feel safe there. And those aren't necessarily the people you want to go. So what would be your advice of dealing with the social structure that is the power user?
Are you talking about the organization now, the people employed in the organization,
more
or
of
the
the
visitors?
audience? Yeah, actually. But actually, of course, you have them in both places.
Yeah, you can have resistance from both places, actually. But, I mean, if you are an institution of any kind, maybe tax-funded and so on, and people hate you and they don't want to come to you, then the first thing is to get really big ears and wonder, why aren't you here? What could make you go here? Or what are your dreams? And to work with the audience that is non-existing and to get them to love you. And if they love you and feel secure, then you can start provoking them and being really strange, because then you have like a contract. It's okay to be here. And now that strange things are happening, it's still okay because I'm cool with this. So you have to get across that level. And when it comes to the organization, I think you must... I sometimes take in my secret weapon. It's a Navy SEALs guy, actually. Manuel Knight, who says he works with organization. He's like very tall, black guy. What do you call it? Bodyguard for the President of the United States. And he says, either you execute or you evacuate. So like the military idea, this is a job. You need to work in this way, or maybe move somewhere else. Where
you don't have to work here if you don't like what we're doing here. It's
people,
harsh, but it's true. They're not going to love you for it, I'm just saying.
But you cannot always be loved, and that must also be said that if you want to change things, then it's a combination of love and brutality. I mean, nothing will happen if you just, you want to do it that way. Oh, we'll go on doing it that way then. But still, no, you know, nothing's going to happen. So I love when things happen and you don't just talk about things happening.
It's very good. Ladies and gentlemen, Katti Hoflin.
Thank you. Thank you very much.